Hi, I'm Steve, and this is Hope Within Reach. This is episode 7, The Thanksgiving That Changed My Life. Thanksgiving morning, 1980. I remember walking into the living room to turn on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. But what I saw instead changed my life forever. My dad was lying on the floor. He had slit his wrists. And in that moment, everything shifted. My dad survived. But that morning set off a chain of events that would eventually lead me into foster care and into the home of a man and woman who would change the direction of my life. I've shared pieces of my story here on Hope Within Reach, but I've never shared this part before. Today, I want to take you back to that morning and walk through what happened next. That morning didn't end there. In a lot of ways, it was just the beginning. Because what followed set off a chain of events that I couldn't have understood at the time. But looking back now, I can see how everything started to shift. And just 3 days before that morning, I had gotten out of drug treatment. At that point in my life, things weren't steady. And after that Thanksgiving, everything started moving in a direction I didn't expect. Not long after that, I found myself sitting with a school counselor. Sharon was her name, as I recall. And from there, things moved quickly. There were conversations, decisions being made, people stepping in. And before I really had time to process what was happening, I was placed at St. Joseph's Home for Children. That age, I didn't fully understand what was going on. I just knew life didn't feel the same anymore. From there, I was placed into my first foster home. It was with a woman named Bunny. She had a huge heart. She really did. She cared deeply about helping kids. But the truth is, it didn't work out. And looking back now, I can see that I just wasn't ready. I didn't have the tools. I didn't understand what was happening in my life. So, before long, I found myself back at St. Joe's. And then I met Greg and Diane. I still remember sitting there as things were being explained. Greg shared 2 simple rules. The first one was everyone eats meals together. And I mean all of us. There were 11 of us in that house. And yes, I said 11. And the second rule was everyone goes to church. And I remember thinking, oh boy. Then Greg said something that would change everything. He said, we give every child a 2-week trial. And then he added, we're leaving tomorrow for a 2-week camping trip. And in that moment, I had a choice. I could go back to St. Joe's, or I could take a risk and go on that trip. I didn't know what it would mean. I didn't know what would come next. But I made a decision. I chose the camping trip. And what I didn't realize at the time was that decision would change the direction of my life forever. And that is what I want to share with you next time. Looking back now, that day didn't feel like a turning point. It just felt like confusion and a series of things I didn't understand. But sometimes the moments that change our lives don't feel significant when we're in them. They just feel like one small step in the middle of something hard. And maybe you've had a moment like that. Something you didn't choose. Something you didn't understand. Something that felt more painful than purposeful. If that's where you are right now, I just want you to know you're not alone. And even if you can't see it yet, this may not be the end of your story. It might just be the beginning of something you'll understand later. If this brought something to mind for you, maybe a moment in your own life that didn't make sense at the time, I'd love to hear about it. And if you know someone who might need this today, feel free to share it with them. I'm really grateful you're here. And until next time, hope is still within reach.